Hello everyone, and welcome back to Dragalia Foundry, a fan channel where everything Dragalia Lost can be found. Today's video is going to contain my tips and an overview of the Chronos Clash Omega Solo, as well as the Chronos Nyx Omega Solo that can be played today if you have all of the Omega keys unlocked from the current raid, and of course have a team might of at least 20,000. So there, for a brief moment, you got a glimpse of my actual first clear where I did have Ieyasu die toward the end of the battle. So I immediately fired up repeat quest to make sure I could get a Deathless on this, and honestly this one is a lot easier among the two of these raid battles. I'm playing a little bit sloppy to begin the fight here since, based on my first clear, I found that this fight didn't require as much finesse and as much precision, so I'm kind of just casting spells on cooldown, not even putting Hindwall's skills in order as they should be, but I'm still able to easily defeat this boss. The reason that I'm piling Hindwald here is because he has skill prep, and he has access to very fast to charge skills. And that's something I found to be really effective in both of these raids. Basically, you want to use your skills to throw out iframes and protect your vulnerable AI teammates. A really common excuse I see for failure in raid events is to blame the AI and basically say, you know, I would have won, but all my AI decided to kill themselves, or they all ran into such and such attack and got one shot. What I'm trying to say, hopefully with this video, is that you can help protect your AI, and in fact, the onus is on you as a player to protect your AI. You can switch to characters at any time. You can also use skills, and when a skill is active, as you'll see here, it will protect your entire team from red area of effect moves, as well as moves that aren't forecast. So in this case, the lunge that Chronos does forward, it can be iframed. So that's what I want to remind y'all is you are a human, the AI is going to do what the AI does, but you can try to play your best to make sure that they are safe. And looking back on my first clear and the reason it wasn't a Deathless, my Ieyasu actually got bogged, and at that point, as a player, I should have definitely made a decision to switch to him and make sure he didn't die, but I didn't, and so toward the end of the match, he got taken out. So here I'm using iframes once again on those red skills. It's actually kind of cool that Chronos draws inspiration from past raid bosses with its moves. This was something I never even noticed in the expert difficulty because the clears on that are just so fast that in some sense you don't get to appreciate how cool of a boss this is, and I didn't realize at the time I started playing it that EX would be so different with Chronos Nyx. So it's not too hard to take this one out. The DPS check isn't super high on this either. It's mostly about learning the patterns and moving from one hand to the other, breaking and demolishing the hands, trying to use a skill when possible. If you want to play really conservatively, and here I definitely did not, you can make sure to save iframes like I said, so characters with fast to charge skills like Hindwald are very good for this as your lead, but you could also just lead with anybody else and probably clear this just fine. For this particular boss, another thing I would say is that raid boosts are not really important. You can see here I'm able to clear with 1.5 minutes left. For both of my clears of the Omega battles, I did have one rare raid boost. I had the critical rate 15% rare raid boost, but that was pretty much it. That actually brings me to a second point, which is the other excuse I see a lot when it comes to raid battles is now that this rare raid boost has been implemented, people are upset that they don't have all 7 of the rare boosts. And what I want to say is, at first I also felt like they should increase the appearance rate for these, but what I've come to realize at this point is they're not even necessary to clear the Omega level content. So the raid boosts are more of a crutch or a way to catch yourself up if you have a weaker team, but they're not necessary. Given the fact that you can actually clear all the Omega content without raid boosts, I do feel like it's appropriate that they have such a low drop rate, because it's kind of a means for a weaker player to catch up, but if you've adequately prepared yourself for the raid, then you shouldn't necessarily need to do them. And when I say adequately prepare yourself, I would say for Omega that means you've been playing for a long time, you have an invested shadow team, so this isn't something that a newer player would be able to easily do. I would say even if you get like all 7 of those rare raid boosts. Here for Omega Nyx, I actually decided to do something a little bit unusual. I brought Sanoa on my team in part because I saw people were using Lowen with Freya to heal themselves, and because Lowen has the ability to buff max HP. Well, I figured that if I were to use Sanoa, I could do something similar, have Phoenix equipped to her, but my DPS contribution from her would be a little better, since sometimes she would randomly roll some strength and critical rate buffs. And not only that, but as a flame element character, she could also help me out after the causality reversal. Basically, during this causality reversal, Chronos Nyx is going to summon a weak point that needs to be destroyed before Dimensional Oblivion fully activates. You've probably seen yourself get galaxied depending on the Nightmare and EX pubs that you've been playing in. If you don't break that weak point, that is what happens. So a flame character is also good to have on the team because the weak point is of the wind element. This is the particular part where I really felt I wanted regen though. These tornadoes are super annoying. They deal a small amount of damage, but they also just buffer or buffet your teammates all around the map just into random other attacks. That flame lightning is also pretty bad, but thankfully my regen tick was still going to the point where I was able to stay as Phoenix, keep transforming whenever my regen ran out. So essentially I'm just using Sanoa here for Phoenix, for buffs, kind of as a utility character on my team, and letting my main shadow units do all of the DPS. I do have Kurin at 50 nodes, as well as Ieyasu and Galacleo, so this was by no means an easy team comp that's going to be available to everyone. I've seen other players use a healer like Lowen, or even use Verica, or maybe even the Shadow Verica, Summer Verica for this, and I think that can be effective as well. But if you're not using somebody like Phoenix or Freya, I would say you really want to be careful when those tornadoes come out. Make sure that your AI are well away from Chronos Nyx, otherwise they're going to get captured in them and carried off by the tornadoes. There, I was taking some damage, my iframes weren't quite on point, but the regen tick with Sanoa's buff time just seems to last long enough that my team is kind of immortal here. Barring a one-shot KO, they're not going down easily, and Kurin got close there. He really got close to a one-shot KO, so thankfully he didn't die. I panicked trying to heal him, became Phoenix, and pretty much right away he was healed up to full, thankfully. So my one concern with a strategy like this where you have a healer or a Phoenix character on your team is of course your DPS output, and like I said, I only have one raid boost after collecting around 3,000 to 4,000 gold emblems, so I'm not using a super powerful DPS team. I don't have the Bane ability or the skill damage ability that's available through raid boosts. So my one concern here is running out of time. I'm trying to apply as much DPS as I can and use buffs when I can, but also I'm not that familiar with the later part of this fight. I tried this with Heinwald as my lead, essentially using the same team comp as I did for Omega Chronos, and I found that it wasn't super effective, especially when I got to that tornado stage, so that's why I just thought Sanoa might work well. Let's maybe go a more traditional route with this, like we did in the old days, where we used to bring Phoenix to every raid. There, unfortunately, I did get hit by that burn-inducing move. I was trying to get in close and use my S3 as an iframe, but I was a little bit late on activating it, and thankfully my next Phoenix became available to help me escape that tornado that was coming out. But it really came down to the wire here. It was looking like I probably wasn't going to clear, but I got a nice demolish on the tail, which bought me a little bit of time, a little bit of breathing room, Unfortunately, I didn't have a skill up to iframe that and prevent my adventurers from getting knocked down and stunned, but I kept attacking, and Galaclea was far enough that she was able to use a skill with 2 seconds left and knock out Chronos Nyx. So that was my first clear and my first Deathless. I haven't gone back and tried to challenge this with a stronger team, but this was what worked for me. So hopefully this video has given you some food for thought, maybe some ideas for your own team comp. Don't be afraid to get a little bit weird and experimental with this. So I hope that you're able to get the clear on this ahead of October 5th, which is around when the actual raid component of Omega should be happening. One thing that's kind of fortunate is it's pretty much one and done. You're going to basically get a full Damascus ingot if you play through the Omega solos and a full Sunlight Stone if you play through the Omega raid. Once again though, that's going to do it for this video, everyone. Thank you as always for watching. Take care, and I'll see you next time.